Well, welcome to Keeping It Real with Everyday People. Today we are with Rose, and we're so excited to have you on the show today, Rose. I know you're going to have an incredible story, and we can't wait to hear it. So, without further ado, here's Rose.
Thank you, both Terry and Angel. I'm honored to be here with you both today and share this moment and share information, right? We both seem to have a passion and a love of positivity and understanding of food and health and wellness. Um, where to start? I guess we could start to a place 6 years ago, I would say is when I really made my first steps towards to like getting like healthy and wanting to actually understand food a little bit more. And I was a vegetarian for 5 years, and it wasn't until this last year that I decided to be a vegan and look at my health in a little bit different manner. But the reason, let me step a little bit further back as to why I started to make this sort of transition. And it came from a place where I was really just mentally and emotionally just in a very dark place in my life. And I had been that way for a long time and physically was manifesting physical angst and pains and aches but that was just what I was dealing with. It's kind of crazy to think about how the body can adapt and get used to pain. Like I didn't realize that I was just walking around with level 6 out of 10 pain every single day.
Wow.
And just that was my existence. And so I thought that I would just start getting into the gym and start working out and doing that. And it was good for a period of time to like get my body back into adjusting to move again. But then I started to explore other things. Like I stopped eating dairy for a month. I remember for the month of February, I just said, I'm going to stop eating dairy for a month. And then it turned to I'm going to stop eating pork. And then I just didn't turn back, and I just started adding layers onto sort of how I was feeling. And I realized that the things I was putting into my body, not just physically doing, because I'm still doing like activities, I'm still working out, I'm still doing all of these runnings and CrossFit and boot camp and all these kinds of things. But that sort of place didn't really help me internally. Like it helped the physical, right? But there's a quote that I love that if you do not manage your mind, you will not be able to address your biology, and that you'll repeat past behaviors.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And so yeah, so I was at the time I was just addressing my biology, right? I was just addressing the physicality of myself, and I wasn't addressing my mind. And so it wasn't until about a year ago that I started to really address my mind. And I've been in therapy for 3+ years, and that's been great. But really like doing, like you can go to therapy and it's great to like have that bouncing of information and back and forth, but there's a point in time where you have to decide what is your own agency and what is it that you want to continue on. You can deal with the past stuff, but then you have to like move forward. And so it was about a year ago that I got to a point where I just decided that I was going to go full raw vegan. I did it for 3 months.
Nice.
And then I just started, I love, it's cold where I'm at, and I love cooked food. I love my miso soup. But I'm not a full raw vegan at this particular point in time. It's at summer, spring, easy to do, right? You've got your fruits, you got your vegetables. But as it gets a little cold in the Northwest where I'm at, like I need some warm foods, and I've loved to, like, I've just found this newfound love of Hawaiian purple sweet potatoes, and
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I've gotten to this place where I'm really in love with myself again, and like who I am and where I'm growing into being. And I only just wish I could share it in a way that like is so organic and holistic that I see people that like yo-yo here and there between diets. This is not a diet for me. This is a lifestyle change. This
Exactly.
is me being compassionate to myself first and foremost, and then being compassionate to everything else around me.
That's beautiful.
So I love what
That's
you
beautiful.
said. I have to ask you, when you found yourself being able to move from that depressed state, you know, seeing somebody talking about it, feeling better, but really transitioning, like, I'm here, I love myself. Was that when you went raw? Did that help you get there? I'm trying to figure out what the
Yeah. So I came across a few YouTube channels, and I came across probably all the ones you know of, and I even bought the Love on a Plate cookbook
yeah.
or uncookbook, and I wanted more for myself, and I knew I wanted more for myself. And by transitioning and actually taking a really hard look at like what I was putting into my body and giving myself that grace, I felt like I was able to actually clear the pathway, the communication channel between myself, my intuition, and my creator.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that channel of communication gets bogged, this is just my belief, gets bogged down with hormonal pesticides, chemicals, waste products, like that. And then, of course, you got a lot of other exterior kind of forces. So I needed to clean those channels of communication between myself, my gut, and that path of communication between my creator.
Yeah. I get you so much because I went fully raw on December 4th of 2022, and now it's been whatever, it's September, so almost a year. And I totally completely get what you're saying. You know, it's not about, some people get it a little bit confused that you're talking about God, or you're talking about, it's just a higher spiritual connection, like you're saying. So I think that's beautiful. And it sounds like that lifestyle helped you mentally get where you needed to be so that you could love yourself again.
Yeah, I believe that there's, we'll call it 4 pillars of health and wellness. Okay, so the first pillar, and then it's not by any ranking of pillars, by the way, they're all equal, is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. The difference between mental and emotional, the mental is your logic, your rationale, your science side of the brain, right? Your emotional is obviously where you have feelings of depression or happiness, that you have to understand the difference between all of those pillars. And those are foundational to building the structure of yourself. You have to understand, what do you stand for? What are your morals? What are your ethics? Why do you believe those kinds of things? And question all of it so you can eventually build upon that and create the being that you were meant to create, not the being that others or society or culture or all the other various entities. So that's just where I'm at this particular point in time.
Well, that's beautiful. Rose, what about your you talked about you working out in the gym and your physical and some of the ailments that you have physically. How did going raw, how did it help you physically?
Well, I already mentioned that it helped my spiritual connection. There's a physical component, and that's probably usually the one that people are most interested in, right? I believe I lost like 16 pounds in 3 months.
Wow.
Like it just fell right off. And once you like cut out the processed foods, the unnecessary sugars, and something just happened where like my body wasn't inflamed anymore. Like I didn't realize that all these years that I was vegetarian, that I was really inflamed. Like you when you hear the word even inflamed, you're assuming something's on fire.
Everything's inflammation.
Yeah.
Everything.
Right. So I wasn't really, it's kind of like one of these ideas that you hear about and I just didn't realize that I was carrying it around and how it was really impacting my body. And again, I just thought that these pains that I was having was just getting older or past injuries, or like this was something I had to like cope with.
Sure.
But truly it just came down to becoming raw vegan for a period of 3 months really helped me to see how inflamed I really was and how much I was carrying with me. And that stress of that, getting back to that emotional part, the stress that I was dealing with, like becoming like eating clean foods, helped me to deal with the stress. It helped with my depression. It helped me to feel lighter within like my bones, if I can explain that. So it was profound for me, and it got me to see that really truly food is what you put in, like it's medicine. It's what you put, you are what you eat. I mean, it very much so made it clear, smacked me across the face. You are what you eat, and you have to consider where you getting your food, what's it exposed to. Even got me thinking about like we see nutritional labels on food. It's like, oh, you got this macros, proteins, fats, carbs, and it shows it on the nutritional label. And it got me thinking like when they test and say that this has X number of protein, X number of fat, X, are they testing that on cooked or on raw?
Right.
Like it got me thinking about like,
I think
is the nutritional value, is the nutritional value that they're, giving you this information, is it based on something that's cooked or whether something's raw? Because it changes, right? We know that when you put something into heat pressure, it changes it on a cellular atomic level. So am I really getting X number of grams of micronutrients according to per serving of this nutritional label?
Yep, exactly. No, you're
that's great insight.
about it. You're
great
thinking
insight.
about it really well, because I think a lot of people that maybe question the raw lifestyle, or what they see is, well, you're getting more nutrition, let's say, in your broccoli. But there's so much more, exactly what you just talked about. When you heat something above a certain temperature, it decomposes those cells. So then it becomes harder to digest. We don't get all the nutritional value out of it. It's just tougher on the body. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat cooked broccoli. I'm not saying that at all.
You're just stating a fact.
But I'm just saying exactly what you just said is correct. There's a whole changing of the structure of the food. So therefore, our bodies have to work harder to digest it, etc.
I loved how you talk stress. You're right. Stress, to me, stress is a silent killer. It is. It's a silent killer. And, if people are in very stressful jobs or in stressful, lifestyle environments and so on and so forth, you're right. And then on top of that, you know, maybe not eating the right way or eating healthy, it can definitely, you know, have a toll, on your, on the four pillars you just talked about, you know, the physical, the
Yeah.
mental, the emotional, the spiritual. So I like how you tied all those together.
I really do too. It's
Yeah.
very cool. So you went from vegetarian, were you eating dairy when you were vegetarian? Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
then you moved from that a year ago and cut out the dairy. That probably really helped your inflammation.
It did. I was eating dairy, eggs, butter, you know, oh, grass fed, all of that. So I
Yeah.
did that whole thing. Still, when I was vegetarian, I really didn't. I noticed my digestion improved when I cut out the meat, but it didn't. It got to a point, and then it just went. It just plateaued,
Mhm.
right? And then when I went fully raw, it was a huge, just like huge change. And then I jumped off the raw wagon and started eating more cooked foods, but I was more conscious about that. And then I was thinking more about like misinformation and how I was educated and like what does this mean and is it true? And sort of diving into that a bit more. And then about a couple weeks ago, I actually just finished the 10-day master's cleanse. And that was a whole nother journey. Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, so now I'm just like, I feel so much better because like I had GI issues. And like now I'm like dealing with things. It never goes away, right? But it just becomes a lot less. It's a significant reduction in inflammation and digestive issues. Like today, Rosie's bowels are good.
Yay. Can you tell the audience where you got the 10-day master cleanse? Maybe just a little bit about it, just in case they're thinking, I'm really interested in that, Rose.
Yeah, so I would never recommend anybody to do the 10-day master cleanse just if you think it's going to be a weight to lose weight, right? There's a lot of information out there that says, oh, I lost blah, blah, blah pounds on the master cleanse. Don't do it for weight loss. It is, I've done juice cleanses after, so I want to say it was about 6 months ago, I did a juice cleanse for 18 days. That was just where it was just drinking, you know, the juice that I was making. And that was a lot easier than the master cleanse. And like, don't go into the master cleanse assuming that you're going to, for the purposes of lose weight. If you're going to do the master cleanse, you really need to understand why you're doing it because it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to challenge you in ways that I couldn't tell you because each person's journey is different. But you have to be able to like hold fast to that reasoning for whatever it is. And for me, it was about I wanted to clean out my gastrointestines. I wanted to have a clean, clear communication with my intuition, with my creator. Yes, there was a physical component to it that I wanted to address. And there was an emotional component that I wanted to address as well. It helped me like really channel and listen to my inner consciousness and find other things to do while I was at like my husband, he went and ate, like he wasn't on the master class. I was still making food for him and then I would run away.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? The only way you can get through that is in here.
Yes.
That's
yes.
incredible.
Yeah. So I would, and then like near like the like last couple of days, I would watch him eat. He probably thought I was like very strange because I would like make him food and I'd be like, so what is the texture like? Tell me, give me, tell me what the juices and now, all of that kind of stuff. Tell me what your taste buds are tantalizing. What's going on here? But it was fine. I pulled through. It's all good.
Wow, that takes so much will to just get your mind in that space to just do something like that. Even the juice, I mean, I've done juicing, the longest I lasted was 3 days. I can eat fruit all day and all night, but there's so much fruit. I mean, it's not like I'm hungry, so it's not a big deal. Oh, I'm on a fruit feast. Do you feel sorry for me? So I don't think so. But 18 days on juice. Wow. But you feel so good when you juice like that.
Yeah.
It feels incredible.
Yeah. The master cleanse is different than the juice. Like, you don't have anything in your body. You're just drinking like some maple syrup lemonade, and then you do the saltwater flush in the morning, and like there's definitely lots of tips I would give, to somebody that wanted to go through it, but I wouldn't really talk too much about like encouraging people to go through that. Like, it's one of those things, like, we're all on this journey separately, and you have to like find your course. Like, what I did is not the map, blueprint, template for you to do. Like, I wouldn't like say like start here. No, no, no. You gotta, like, as I said like before, you gotta work on your mind before you address your biology. And master cleanse is far down the line before you need to like get to that point. You got to work on your mind. You got to work on what you're doing up here. Guilty, like guilt, feeling guilty after eating something. I'm not here for that. I don't want to deal with any of that. I don't want to deal with any of the negative emotions. Like, food really had a huge impact, as well as external factors. Like, I had to like really cut out relationships and external environments, changed jobs, moved. Like, I had to like I've come to a place where I'm actually very, very secure with like who I am and where I'm at. And that journey is my own. And so I would only suggest that somebody find their own journey and find their own uniqueness and what they want to see themselves grow into.
Wow.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
That's awesome.
Kudos to you. Great advice. I have to ask this question. So if you're still on the standard American diet, you hadn't gone vegetarian and even to raw, where do you think you would be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually?
Wow, great question. So I'm the youngest of 5 children, and so I've got 4 siblings that are older than I am, and I see where they're at. And I'm not trying to, talk badly, because they're still doing this the way that we grew up. They consume alcohol. I gave up alcohol like 3 months now.
Yeah, congratulations.
That had a huge effect on my emotions and on the physical as well, the mental state. Like, alcohol and depression, not good, not good at all. I wouldn't be who I am and where I'm at. I'd be in a state that would be dark, and darkness has almost like a tar-like stickiness. It sort of like feeds little parts of you that are the monster, judgment, resentment, regret, all of those kinds of things. Like, I am working still today to just like wash it out of my hair. I'm shedding it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to deal with that. So eating the standard American diet, drinking if there is a standard American drinking, um, I don't think I would be as light and free mentally, emotionally, even physically. I feel that most mornings I run 3.5 miles before 7 a.m.
Wow.
I do my workout. I feel great. Like, I feel like I'm working on myself. I have, of course, still like back issues and neck issues, but I'm working those things out. Like, those are just things that we have to deal with. Whatever your issues are, like, they don't go away, but you can minimize them. And if I was still doing things the way that I was doing them before, I would be highly inflamed. I was on antidepressants before. I was on anti-anxiety medication. Like, my hormones were out of whack. Like, I I wouldn't I couldn't imagine that I would be a well-rounded, balanced, happy person that I am today. I couldn't possibly imagine like what that would be like for me, especially where I'm at today.
That's
Thanks for sharing.
awesome.
Yeah,
So
thank you for sharing.
did you come off of your anxiety and all your medications?
I did. I did. Yeah. I'm no longer taking any of the many pills the doctors prescribed. Um, Even though Walgreens keeps calling me for refills.
Come get your stuff.
Again, food is medicine in many different
That's
ways. Not
incredible.
only,
Mhm.
physically, but mentally and
But
every other way.
I've heard that those medications are hard to come off of. So the fact that you've even overcome that through all of
Yeah.
this is really
Yeah.
incredible.
It is.
Yeah. And medication has conflicting like side effects that you end up experiencing. Like, n- not gonna try and gross out any of your viewers, but like I mentioned, I had gastrointestinal issues. Like, I had constipation for days. Like, it was terrible. And I would go to the GI specialist and he prescribed some other medication. And then my primary physician prescribed some other ones. And then they had like conflicting side effects among them that would add to, and
Mm.
then my anti-anxiety that would have its own. It was just a circle of death, in my
Oh,
opinion, of different kinds of like medications by prescribed. And I just decided, I was like, I need to do this in a different way. I
Mhm.
need a more holistic approach. I need to find something. And I came across this idea of eating raw foods and what that could do for me. And then I started even going into it deeper and thinking, so we eat these animal products, right? No matter what your animal product, you butter, cheese, meat, whatever it is,
Mhm.
if you're eating something under stress, that is an emotional state of stress, are we not consuming energy because we ourselves are energy? And like I believe that like there's love that goes into the food that I make.
Mhm.
And that's why it tastes better than something I could get in a restaurant, because very rarely is love going into it. It's more like get another dish out, get another dish out.
Mhm.
So if you believe that energy goes into the food, then you have to believe that energy is what you're consuming.
yeah.
So
I
it's a
totally believe.
matter of
Great analogy.
manipulating and working with the flow of energy, right? Energy doesn't just stop with a hard wall up against it. Energy continues to flow and it continues to go. So working through that and understanding that if I'm eating the correct forms of energy,
Mhm.
then I am bettering my own energy.
Great illustration. Great illustration.
I
Great illustration.
completely align with
Yeah.
that. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, we are so connected. So today, Rose, would you say you're whole food plant-based, or would you say you're high raw? Do you have any label on what you're doing?
I would say it's probably whole foods plant-based. Yeah, I'm not I'm not afraid to, get into some zoodles. It's one of my favorite dishes. I thought to myself for years, I'm like, why did I ever think that zucchini needed to be cooked? Like my
I
favorite way
know.
is to like
Yeah, I mean, you can even eat, I learned you can even eat sweet potatoes the same way. I always thought, who would ever think you don't have to cook a potato? And I know on the raw diet, I won't say that they frown on gluten, but it's just known to not, be the best thing for your body. So is that, something that you eat today? Like you're back to from raw to whole food plant-based. They're both wonderful. So no judgment here. I think it's amazing. But do you eat pasta and bread and things like that?
I do. So one of the things that I've been doing over the last year is I started making my own sourdough bread.
Wow, fun.
Yeah, so I actually have a sourdough starter just sitting out right now because I'm going to make some pizza crust. But I started making my own vegan cheese, and I probably make about 6 different cheeses right now. I'm about to, with my pizza, I'm going to make my own vegan mozzarella cheese. So I eat definitely carbs. Like if it's good source, again, we're talking about that energy, right? If you know what you're sourcing, and like I don't eat just like run of the mill bleached enriched flour. Like I actually source out like the small farmers. I look for like high quality either spelt or there's so many different kinds of wonderful flours that you really can start going. Like the flour wheel is huge. Like I couldn't even So like I love to mix my bread with different kinds of flours because it gives me different levels of protein, but also gives me different kinds of flavors, and I enjoy that kind of caramelization and that richness that I can get. So I love to do that in my own food and my own cooking and my own cultivations. Whether that I'm making cheese, if I do decide that I'm going to eat pasta, I love like there's pasta that's made with garbanzo beans or pasta that's made with edamame. I rarely even enjoy like the run of the mill standard pasta anymore. I find it actually a bit too gummy, and it doesn't have like this sort of same palette of taste that I used to enjoy, that kind of stuff. So I go with trying to make everything from scratch, whether that means my own sauces. I have raw vegan sauces book that I love, but I've learned to just like make them myself. I have my own like bulk of raw nuts. It's crazy. But like, almonds, macadamians, cashews,
and it's delicious.
seeds, buckwheat. I love to sprout that myself. So I do all of that myself, and I find that I'm able to like have it's like I pulled back the curtain of like possibilities, and I don't have to just accept with what is sold to me or is on the shelf or given to me. I can actually be more creative, and that's part of that connection, I believe, with my creator, of my intuition, is building stuff and creating stuff with my own hands and my own imagination, that I don't have to like just take, okay, this is what a cookie recipe is supposed to be. I can actually make it into so much more.
Right. Right. I love that, because that's all a part of, like you said, you kind of created this, environment. And I think that's a big part of it, right? And not relying on, what's being sold on the shelf, but you've taken control, and you're making your own, very similar to what we do. You're making your own bread, you're making your own cheeses, you're making your own sauces, and you know what's in it, and you know it's healthy.
Every drop of what's in it. My whole life growing up, Rose, it was like you have to put love in your food, even though at the time it was plenty of real cheese and real meat and you know, stuff like that, obviously. But I was always told you have to put love in the food or it doesn't taste good. So I love what you're saying about love in the food. So
Yeah.
do you feel like, do you have to watch? I mean, like when you eat, because I'm going to ask you, like, what does a day of eating look like typically? Because I think people are always interested in that. And do you feel like you have to watch your weight, or do you pretty much stay stable? How does that work for you?
Weight is a tricky, interesting little beast, isn't it?
I hate it. Throw your scale out. It makes me cry.
I actually do weigh myself once a month. I give myself that grace because I'm a person that is analytical, so I like to have something that I'm tracking, even if I want to like throw the scale out the window at times. Totally get that. Where I'm at today is not where I was at 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I realized that I don't have to eat as much as I thought I did in order to have a certain amount of energy or have a sustained kind of XYZ. I'm in a place right now, and you have to decide, every single person has to decide, are you trying to lose, maintain, or gain? Like my husband, he's trying to gain. Like he's a stick. So he's trying to gain and I'm trying to lose, right? We're going in two different. So he gets 3 times as much food as I do, and I don't need that huge of a plate of food. So where I'm at today, my routine is kind of funny. So I wake up in the morning, and as I mentioned, my husband and I and our dog, we run 3.5 miles. And I have first thing before I run out the door is I have a little spirulina energizer.
Oh yeah.
I think the company is KOS, but something like that. Just gives a little boost of energy with spirulina. And then when I come back from my run, I have a glass of green powder or green juice that I just chug down. And then I don't drink caffeine much anymore. So I call it chicory chai because it's a chicory root and some like mushroom cacao kind of mix. And I like a little chai in like drops of like some concentrated chai and with some macadamia milk and hot water, and I'm super happy. That's like my
delicious.
Yeah, I like
yeah.
Delicious.
And then so after that, then like right now I have my miso soup. And then at some point in time later, I've been really into, I mentioned the purple Hawaiian sweet potatoes. So I'll probably eat a plate of those. I already have them baked up. And so I'll just throw them in the nuker for a couple of minutes to warm them up. And then I'll just eat a plate of potatoes. I know it sounds.
Sweet potatoes are so good for you.
They are
so good.
So good. And they fill me up and I feel satiated with that. And then at some point in time and during the day, I'll probably have a snack. Sometimes I'll have a bagel or I'll have, some bread that I made. I'm not, crazy about like trying to count I don't really I don't count my calories or macros or anything like that. I just think about like, what am I feeling like today? Do I want some popcorn? Yeah, maybe I want some popcorn. I'm going to go have some popcorn, but I'm not going to I'm going to put it in a reasonable size bowl. I'm not going to put it in, a drum and just, eat out of it. And then after doing that master cleanse, I realized that like I felt surprising. Like I was still running. I ran when I was on my master cleanse for 10 days. I ran 4 of the days out of 10, and I was still running 3.5 miles.
Wow.
So my energy level was not terrible. Like the first 2 of the 10 days I was running, and then I sort of fell off into like, I was like, oh, my energy kind of dropped. And then the last 2 days, my energy was like jumped back up.
Wow.
And so I don't know where the boost of energy came from, but I felt great. And that also helped me to like realize that my stomach wasn't that big and I didn't really need to like fill it to the brim. And there was something on Netflix that we were watching. There's a documentary series that was talking about the blue zones.
Yeah.
And they were, can't remember what country it was, but they were talking, I think it was in Japan, they were saying that they only eat to like 80% of their fullness. So I was thinking, oh, okay. So like that whole like stuffing yourself and you don't know when to stop because it tastes so good. I've come to a place where I'm like, I'm only going to eat 80% and then I'm full and then I'll stop.
You know what that feels like, right? So you have trained yourself, which is really good. And you probably have less indigestion. You probably, do you rest better at night?
I funny enough story, I listen to a lot of audiobooks and I have a timer on my Audible for 5 minutes and I plug in my phone, I'm listening to my audiobook and I lay in bed and every night without fail, I'm asleep before the Audible of 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That's
like,
fantastic. That's
like,
fantastic.
yeah. And then I wake up at yeah, I go to sleep at 9 and then I'm up at 5:30 to go for my run.
That's
yeah.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So do you have support from your family and friends? I mean, how did that go when you decided to go full on plant-based?
I have support from my husband. We're in this together. He, as I said, he eats 3 times the amount of food that I do. When I decided that I was going to go vegetarian, he was right there. And I was like, look, you don't have to do this with me. This is, my own personal decision. He's like, nope, I'm going to do it with you.
Wow, that's awesome.
Love
that's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, I said, I was like, if you don't want to go plant-based, you don't have to. I'm just not going to be making you anything else but that.
You'll have to.
So, yeah. He had plenty of opportunities, but he's stuck with it. And he's my rock. We're sort of like that dorky couple that wears matching clothes and hangs out together very closely. So I unfortunately don't have the blessed family and friend support. I'm sort of that strange human that exists over there on the fringe that always has some sort of thing they're going through or way of doing things or seeing things differently than other people. And that's fine. And I've come to a place where I'll just be that person. Like I grew up in a community where I was already on the fringe, so this is nothing new for me.
You know what, Rose? I think that makes you unique. I think it makes you the beautiful person that you are. It's just you're paving your own way. You're your own person. You have your own path. You know what's right for your mind, body, soul, spirit, and what makes you feel good. And you're not afraid to live that way. And so I call that courage and strength.
Exactly.
And
I respect that.
And I respect that. I'm humbled by that I'm not like everybody else. Well, that makes you amazing because it is hard sometimes to walk on your own road.
It is. It takes a lot of strength.
It does.
A lot of courage and
a lot of determination.
Yes.
Like, hey, if you don't accept this, that's fine. But I know this is right for me, and I'm doing this. I'm strong. So I think that's beautiful. So yeah, my hat's off to you.
Preach it. Preach it.
High five, girl. So share with us how old you are, because I'm very curious.
Oh, well, how old do you think this girl is?
You look so young to me, and your dimples. I mean, you're adorable.
Ah,
You look
thanks.
young to me.
I'm 43.
43.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
Well,
never
you're
never
too
guess
cute.
that. Absolutely. Not in the 40s, no. I
No,
would have
and
never
that is
guessed
so
40s.
great. And another
Much
thing I
lower.
wanted to say about your courage is like all this stuff, you're kind of walking your own path and you're trying to find, your spirit and everything, the divine, what your divine is. I mean, it's a lot. What you're talking about is not in a lot of words, but what you're going through is a lot, and I can relate to you. And in addition to that, you changed your job, you moved, you've done all this stuff. I mean, look, you're bench pressing Mack trucks. You have no idea. You're doing so much. It's a lot. It's hard for a person. I mean, you're probably like us and you like change. It's exciting, but change is still hard.
Mhm.
And when you change your lifestyle from an eating perspective, your surroundings of your home,
Your
career, just everything. And then you weren't even feeling the greatest, right? And then here you are in this state that seems so, I get this calming feeling from you. Calm.
State of equilibrium.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting this vibe from you that's very kind of zen, and I feel like you're calm, like you're so comfortable with yourself, I guess.
Thank you. I agree. It's been a lot of work and it's still work in progress. I am not the man on the mountain. I have not reached the summit. I am still climbing my Mount Everest. Everybody has to climb their own mountain, right? Like, I appreciate you saying that.
No,
It's
it
been
comes from you.
a challenge for
yeah,
sure.
really,
It's
like,
not, I've never had anything come easy to me. I'm just one of those people that believes that you have to like dig in and you have to do the hard work if you truly want to reach a higher level of your best virtuous self.
Yep.
You have to do the work. No one's gonna swoop in and save you. No one's gonna be like, come on, Terry, come on, Angel, I'll show you the way.
Nope.
You're right about that.
You have to make it happen, but you know what? You're making it happen.
Yes.
And for me, when I went through my dark times, and Terry's with his struggles, and we all have a story, but it all came back to how you're treating yourself, what you're putting into your body, and how that is radiating into what we need. I mean, for me, when you eat things that are kind of dead and burnt flesh and stuff like that, it was hard for me to be the best me. And I'm still working on it too. Look, I'll be working on it. It'll be a lifelong journey of trying to be the best I can be, but that's how we get stronger.
Absolutely. You said it. We all I always tell Angel, our life is like, it's a chapter book. We all have all these chapters that we're going through. My chapter is different from your chapter, and Angel and ours chapters are different from one another. But then we have a chapter that's together. That's the one I love.
Me too.
Those chapters.
I love that one.
So those
too.
chapters that are together, and we're writing our own story, right?
Yeah.
So that's just beautiful the way you've just explained and articulated everything that you're going through.
And
It's
that
just really
she
beautiful.
realizes it's not all about the food. The
Yes.
food is one very
Component.
important aspect,
Right.
but it's one component of the whole thing. So and that's hard too to get your head around, because it's a challenge. But I really admire what you're doing. Rose, do you get blood work? Have you seen any changes?
I just started with some blood work, compliment you. There's like they do supplemental, mostly it's targeted towards, plant-based.
Yep.
I did their blood work panel. I'm still waiting on those results, but it's funny because I actually did the blood work when I was on the master cleanse. So we'll see how that turns
Oh
out.
my
But
gosh,
that'd be
I'll be
interesting.
so curious to
Yeah, that'll be
see
interesting.
what
Yeah.
it is. I like
Yeah.
to ask. I mean, I only get my blood work done once a year. I'm noticing in the community though that some people are against getting blood work and they feel like it depletes you, and some people are very against you know, taking supplements. And
Mhm.
for me, it's to each his own. I do supplement. You know, I take my B12. You know, one, you know, the vegan tablets or whatever. But I, like you said, it has to be your journey. If you don't want to supplement, you know, fine. I mean,
yeah,
Mhm.
you know.
yeah. I've always had like low iron, and D3. That's just living in the Pacific Northwest, but usually just anybody's kind of short on their D3 wherever they live. So those have been two like hard, fast things that I definitely need to keep in mind. But I went through like that period of time where I was doing CrossFit, I was doing a lot of workout, and I was just like eating everything, and I was consuming all of these, you know, go to the GNC and buy all of these like proteins and just all I spent so much money on all of that stuff. And so now I've come to a point where I'm trying to minimalize and really just go for the things that my body truly needs.
Mhm.
So looking at and having that like part of like the reason why I did the master cleanse, to have that, you know, internal intuition connection, is to listen to my body, to really reset it. So that way, if I'm craving a cruciferous vegetable, then I should just eat a cruciferous vegetable. You know, like if I'm craving something dark and leafy, go for it, eat that. Like your body will tell you when there's certain, and I know that that might be a little bit triggering to be like, oh, if I listen to my body, I'll eat like a pint of ice cream. For me, the reset was I need to reset to the basics. And when you're, you know, a kid, you remember that you had so much energy and you would have like you'd be like, I want an apple. And you'd go and eat an apple, you know, or you would find some vitamin C. You knew those. There was even kids that ate dirt. If you ever grew up around, why were they eating dirt? Because there's minerals in the dirt that they were eating.
Yeah.
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 That's funny.
Not that I recommend people to go eat dirt, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
try
like,
it. There is
I
no.
am
Yeah.
I am saying that like having that reset was important to me, to listen and to be in tune with my body. So if you do want to take supplements, that's your choice, of course, but know what kind of supplements are sourced correctly. Something for me is important is sustainable supplements, ones that were sourced and are fair trade, that are clean. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I personally decided to go with the complement because I wanted them to like have a accurate uh indication of what my body really needs, and then I'll do that like on an annual, I think it's either annually or every 6 months or something like that, that the blood work, and then they send me the pills that I need, and that's fine.
And
Like it's
I
all
think they're
clean.
great.
Mhm.
I think they're great, and I like them too because they are tested by a third party, so it's not just a lot of rhetoric. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
tried and true and tested, and it's a great supplement.
Mhm.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
complement they call it, not a supplement. It's a great
Compliment. Yeah.
complement
Yes.
to your, you know, your lifestyle. So who who was there anything in particular that inspired you? I know you said you bought Kara's book.
Hmm.
You know, they're a really good raw vegan couple and really tell it like it is, don't they, Rose? Wow, they tell it like it is.
I love
But I
that.
like their style. And you know, who really where did you get a lot of your inspiration from? I'm trying to let the viewers know where they can also get
Hmm.
inspiration from.
Um, my inspiration, of course, I do a lot of sourcing of information on YouTube. You kind of have to be able to take in a lot of information and glean through it what you truly need. So for me, I needed people that were positive, people that stayed in the light and the love. I'm always willing to hear other perspectives, what other people are doing, how they're doing it, how they're accomplishing, what are their results, what is their state of existence? Like, are they happy? Are they, if you're yelling on YouTube and you're saying that you're eating, I don't know, only fruit, I don't know if that's something I want to emulate.
Sure.
Personally, for me, my own personal choice is I am moving away from like anger, depression, sadness, anxiety. So if I take in that kind of information, then I feel that I'm not moving away from it. So
Right.
that's my personal preference, is to seek out people that I want to emulate in some capacity.
That's really great. So I'm curious, do you watch the news or anything? Yeah.
No, I don't.
Same.
I don't.
No,
My
There's a lot of
husband,
people,
like,
especially in our community, that are the same way.
yeah, we do not watch it. I'm telling you, sometimes I see the flags half staff and I say, Terry, why is the flag half staff? Did something terrible happen? He's like, I don't know, but I can look for you or whatever. But I just can't, like
Yeah.
you, I don't have room for that.
yeah, yeah. It weighs me down. It weighs my shoulders down. I'm already sensitive to light and headaches, and I've like I said, I've got my own issues. So adding on to society's people's burdens, I can't. Like, I had to cut people out of my life that were, let's just say, adding to drama that I didn't need to be a part of.
Right.
Becoming
And
toxic
We
for you.
understand.
Yep.
We understand.
so I
Right.
liked just a minimalist sort of existence throughout my life. And each to their own, right? Like, if you're wondering why you can't sleep at night and you're drinking a bunch of coffee all day and eating a bunch of processed food and consuming a bunch of news, who knows?
Yeah, I
Maybe
can't
there's
imagine.
something.
I don't
Rose,
know what's
Rose, was there any history in your family of any kind of chronic diseases or ailments that also gave you a or I shouldn't say gave you, that kind of helped you say, you know, I really don't want to go down that path, and I see what that did to my, you know, one of my family members or family members, because we all have so many family members that have, you know, unfortunately passed before us from, you know, devastating diseases and ailments, and you know, us not wanting to travel down that same road. Was there anything?
I mean, every family has something, right? Like, but as your question, did any of it inspire me to be where I'm at? The answer to that is no. But yes, I do have people in my family that, alcoholism, diabetes, have died of cancer. My dad died of lung cancer. Like, these things exist. My mother's legally blind. Like, I could go on and on and on.
Sure.
High cholesterol, high blood pressure, all of that kind of stuff. But that wasn't really what inspired me to do this. I think what inspired me to do this was my own desire for betterment. Like, I wanted to live in light and love. Like, but what does that mean? And so I had to do the work, and no one was going to give that to me or really cultivate that road for me, for myself. So I would say, to answer your question, those that I sought for information and enlightenment were my inspiration, but I didn't have family or friends that gave me that sort of motivation because of what they're doing is the reason why I'm doing this.
Okay, good. No, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And again, it kind of goes along with kind of what you've been saying, being that that person that's kind of on the fringe, on the outside, kind of doing things not so much alone, but just different, right, than others, and charting your own path and creating your own journey, if you will.
I find her to be a trailblazer.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great great way.
I love it. I find a woman after my heart. Pave your own way. It's like everybody's taking that road. Let's go this way. There's a lot of lions and tigers and bears this way, but it's okay.
It's okay. I'm a wolf.
Yep, that's right. I love it. So, Rose, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share, but please do. And also, what would you say to other people who really want to start the journey and they need some motivation? What would you say to them?
I would say really dive into your self agency and start writing, journaling, and don't be afraid to expose yourself to yourself. Like, I didn't have other people to show me the way, sort of. I had to really do the intrinsic work of myself, consciousness and awareness, and break down concepts that I thought were true. I had to do that work myself. And so anybody who's on this consideration of path and journey, like, ask yourself, what do you want? Who is the best version of yourself? What is the most virtuous version of yourself that you want to be? And work every single day to making steps towards that and showing gratitude. Self-agency and gratitude is incredibly important.
Gratitude is
attitude of gratitude.
Yes,
right?
attitude is very important. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Very
love
powerful.
that message. And staying accountable to yourself, because sometimes it's hard, we know, but it's hard sometimes to stay accountable. I love that. I love that you journal, and you're a very strong person.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank
Really.
you.
My hat's off to you. Thank you.
Well, our hats are off to you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you so much
Thank
for
you for
sharing. What a great what a great story, to have the courage even to come forward and share that with people, because emotional trauma is probably one of the hardest things you can deal with in your life. When you're physically hurt, people can see the bruises and the cuts and the scrapes. But when you're emotionally hurt, they can't see what's going on the inside, and you look the same on the outside. So it's hard for people to understand, and it's very judging of sometimes of people. So to have the courage and ability to overcome that on your own,
hats off to
that's
you.
that is paramount.
Yeah, I decided that I'm not a victim.
Yep.
I'm
Good
a
for
survivor.
you. Good for you. I'm so excited. I'm so happy to have met you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. Gosh, we just really enjoyed your story and your journey, and I'm sure others will find your story to be very enlightening, and find bits and pieces and parts that you've talked about that will help them. So
keep smiling. You have a great smile. Your dimples. You're just and you're glowing. And I can tell that you feel good, and I can feel that. So we can feel that. Right. And that's beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we thank you for sharing with us. So thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to be here and to share this with like-minded individuals. And you both are beautiful people, and much love to you both.
Thank you. Same to you. Back at you.
Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.